Hello everyone, and welcome back to some more G-Senjou no Maou with me, Phantoms Y. So, we're in the middle of a hostage crisis, quote-unquote, with Tokita keeping Shiratori hostage. Though, Shiratori is kinda helping her. It's a weird circumstance. Go back and watch the last episode if you don't quite know what's going on. What in God's name is she doing? Tokita Yuki called Haru twice, but neither call was answered. Mizuha's fear got the best of her, and she decided to ask directly. But Yuki did drag people into it. Desperate times call for desperate measures, and one never knows how far they'll go until they live in the situation themselves. She answered immediately. Maybe. More importantly, Yuki didn't want to have to see her sister's blood. I forgot to log off of Steam. Oh well. The precariousness of the situation weighed on Yuki's mind. The greatest weakness of her position was the poor choice of hostage. As it stood, a proper negotiation was out of the question. Nevertheless, Haru should be out of options. For now, at least. Mizuha was cooperative with Yuki to the bitter end. Yuki shook her head. When that happens, Haru will have prepared some sort of scheme. There goes my advantage. The stalemate continued for 30 minutes. Usami just stared firmly at the warehouse with her arms folded the whole time, and the director must have smoked through an entire pack of cigarettes in agitation. Eventually, an unfamiliar luxury car pulled over, its engine roaring loudly. Director Shiratori greeted the man who stepped out of the driver's seat. Katakura had finally arrived. He was a short man. The director briefed him on the situation, looking sharply downward into his eyes. Katakura's small hands moved about restlessly as he did so. He wore thin glasses, as if to hide the brutal glow radiating from the eyes beneath them. Will Eiichi be like that when he gets older? Nah, Katakura looks a lot slyer than Eiichi could ever be. What's up, Usami? Just standing around waiting for the sunrise? Your cell battery must almost be dead by now. Usami nodded, slipping a glance at the director and Katakura. Her gaze pierced through me. Sure. Though to be honest, I wish you would stop waving that annoying justice around all the time. Is that so? You mean I won't think that you're a hero of justice anymore? Man, talk about a hook. You've got me interested now. Cut the hype and spill it already. Usami paused in hesitation, then continued. What? Help her? What's she on about now? Define help. You mean you want me to capture her and hand her over to the police? Or you want me to kill her old man for her? So a fairy tale happy ending? Well, I guess I don't really want to explain this to the cops either. What am I supposed to do now?
最後にもう一度だけ力を借りたいのです。お願いします。
To be honest, if I stopped here, I'd probably have a hard time sleeping at night. The girl knows something about Maou. Tell you what, I won't leave until I get the story out of her. I think it would be a pretty nice gift to Gonzo.
ありがとうございます。
Let's just cut to the dirty plan of yours. This dirty plan of yours. I've known you for too long. I'm used to your dramatics.
嬉しいです。
God, this girl is disgusting.
私は未だにユキを信じています。水葉を含め無抵抗な人を傷つけたりはしないと。例えばいかに憎き理事長とはいえ命乞いをされればユキも思いとどまるかもしれません。
You do?
そこで考えました。これは何とも危険な作戦です。しかも作戦を立てた私は安全という卑劣な。
Usami raised a finger and continued. Wow, her ploy really was a monstrously risky gamble. At long last, the phone rang. It was Haru. Yuki, bracing herself against whatever trap Haru had set for her, answered the call.
待ちくたびれちゃったわよ。ごめん。気持ちの整理がつかなくて。言い訳はいいから。とっとと理事長を中に入れてもらえる？それは。
The director's voice butted in.
わかった。ここを開けろ。
いいのね。ある？ああ。やむを得ないという話になった。
Sounds like an act. Still, Yuki had to wait and see how things proceeded.
結構だわ。じゃあ入ってきてちょうだい。今から扉を開けるわ。
Yuki ended the call and walked to the warehouse's entrance.
姉さん、私はどうすれば？あなたはもう必要ないわ。理事長が入ってきたら解放してあげる。
Misaha shook her head obstinately.
姉さんの力になりたいよ。なぜ？だって今まで姉さんに何もしてあげられなかったから。姉さんに助けられるばっかりじゃ悪いよ。
Yuki objectively found that comment rather foolish, but nevertheless, it warmed her heart somehow.
とにかく私はここを動かないから。
Yuki turned again and went for the door, ignoring Misaha as she stubbornly plopped herself on the ground. Immediately thereafter, I heard the sound of a latch being unlocked. The door slid open horizontally, and the moonlight poured into the warehouse.
どうぞ。
Tokita peeked out, letting only her face show, and gestured the director to come in. It would probably be dangerous to just jump in and rush Tokita. She might be holding the nail to Shiratori's throat behind the door, out of sight. The director walked in, with fear written all over his face.
じゃあね。また連絡するわ。
Tokita all but laughed as she quickly shut the door. In the end, this really was our only choice. Usami silently watched over the situation's development. What was Haru's objective? Yuki carefully invited the director into the warehouse.
父さん、助けて。私、死にたくない。
A voice called out from a spot on the floor behind Yuki. Misaha was still managing to act her role. She sat on the ground with her arms behind her back, pretending to be tied up. After seeing that scene, the director gave up all thoughts of resistance.
両手を上げてちょうだい。下手な真似したらわかるでしょ。姉さんの言うことを聞いて。
The director seemed to have given up completely as he raised his arms in surrender. His worn, middle-aged hands were oozing with sweat.
片倉は来た？
ああ、つい先ほど。
じゃあ、後で呼ぶわ。
Yuki picked up a nearby crowbar.
さて、何か言い残すことがあれば聞くわよ。
すまなかった。マサミには悪いことをしたと思っている。
Yuki's mother's sacred name came out of that man's filthy lips. It sounded to her ears as if he'd soiled it.
あらあら、ずいぶん態度が小さくなったわね。
葬儀にも出られなかったのは私も悔やんでいたんだ。
お仕事が大変だったのね。
ああ、忙しくて。
お線香の一つもあげに来れないほど忙しかったのね。
Yuki mocked as her hatred erupted.
賄賂を受け取っている時間はあったのに。
The director flinched.
待て、私を殺して何になる？
There was a sly look in his eye.
こうは考えられないか、ユキ。私は確かに人格者ではない。そんな人間のために人生を棒に振ってどうするんだ。
そうね、それは何度も考えたわ。あなたを殺そうと思うたびにそういう考えが袖を引いたの。あなたは私の母さんを殺しておいて罪に問われないのに、なぜ私だけ刑務所に入らなければならないのかって。
そうだろう。落ち着いてもう一度考えるんだ。
The relieved look on his face tingled Yuki's sadistic heart.
だからあなたを殺した後は日本から脱出するつもりなの。
Her discussions with the Mao's acquaintances had revealed an escape route to her. There was a smuggling boat which made regular trips between Japan's west coast and the Korean peninsula. Fleeing the watchful eyes of the state would be extremely difficult, but not impossible. Covering her backside after this incident wouldn't be all that hard. Yuki's largest concern lied elsewhere. Misaha. She had been tricked, and despite being taken hostage, still loved Yuki as a sister. Could she really live with herself if she turned that kind-hearted girl into a murderer? Society was plenty cold enough to the Shiratori household without a case of patricide. Yuki wouldn't be the only one here throwing her life away.
助けてくれ、ユキ!
That pleading insect could never induce hesitation in Yuki. However, Yuki thought back on her painful memories with her mother. She had coughed blood until she died, all the while cursing the man who told her to go die in the cold. Yuki placed her mother's suffering and her concern for Misaha on scales, anguishing over her inevitable decision. If she had known it would have turned out like this, she would have stayed away from Misaha. Torrential guilt washed over her. The insectoid man before her seemed to be kind towards Misaha, at least. That's what made him enter the warehouse, despite knowing the danger to himself. If she kills that man, Misaha will no doubt grieve for him. Yuki's hateful adversary was, in the end, Misaha's beloved father. She looked down once more at Misaha. She was wading in a river of sadness that grew deeper by the moment. The one threatening to burst the upstream dam, to bring tears of grief into the ever-smiling eyes of the Misaha in her memories, was none other than Yuki herself. Would it be acceptable for her to rob this girl of her father? I ought to stop this, Yuki clearly thought. No, wait. She had idly glanced at Director Shiratori. In that glance, she had just barely caught a glimpse of him reaching for his pocket. That glimpse proved enough to allow her to avoid the attack by a hair's width. I stood next to Usami, watching over the warehouse with bated breath. What do you think, Usami? About what's going on in there. Aren't you worried things might go sour? This is a pretty drastic measure for you. I mean, I guess that's what it means. I guess that means it might catch Tokita off guard, but still. Sparks flew before her eyes. There was a static pop, like the sound of a discharging bug zapper as it kills a nearby moth. The director's hand closed in on her again. A black object, most likely some sort of taser, shot out at Yuki's face. She leaped to the side in a frantic second dodge. The rumbling roar of electricity rolled past her as she reoriented herself in the battle. Yuki hurled the crowbar she still gripped at her assailant as she put some distance between herself and the surprise attack. After gaining enough ground to think calmly, Yuki scanned her surroundings for anything that could be used as a weapon. She mumbled between rough, distracted pants. That comment was directed at Haru. Yuki never expected she would try to use the hostage to take her down. As Yuki eyed her opponent, she realized his submissive aura had entirely disappeared. Director Shiratori was now grinning like a madman. He drew one step nearer. She had been careless. She looked down at her haggard attacker. Now that she critically analyzes her memory of the director's entrance, she should have known this was coming. His eyes held some sort of plan, and his lips, stiff with fear, were smeared with lies. Mizuha was too sweet to pick up, so she had likely been sitting on her dissatisfaction for years. To speak up, rather. The director laughed. He had managed to avoid prosecution for the recent bribery scandal, after all. Wow. It hadn't taken a genius to figure out that the money her mother supposedly embezzled had ended up in the director's pocket. Yuki knew that her biological father was also an illegitimate child. He'd always hated his parents, and used that drive to build a company from the ground up with nothing but the clothes on his back. A true role model. Those few words perfectly defined Director Shiratori. He wasn't a greedy middle-aged buffoon, scared half to death of the police and the media's hounding. Neither was he a kind father, worried about his beloved Mizuha. He was a selfish, arrogant incarnation of evil. Yuki's old curiosity idly wondered how a man with no sense of right and wrong became so powerful in society. He took another step towards her, taser brandished and ready. There was nowhere left to run. Yuki's back pressed against a crate, the tarp covering it crinkling as she tried to retreat further. Then, her eyes shot wide open. Mizuha screamed. She had jumped out from behind a crate. She desperately clung to the director's arm from behind him. After a short struggle, the black weapon in his hand fell to the ground with a clang. The powerful device which had given the director his brash confidence was now on the floor. He roared and thrashed, shaking Mizuha off in the process. However, Yuki was already holding the director by the collar. Cool air rushed past her past her flushed face. Her flawless shoulder throw hurled the director quite a ways. His spine hit the concrete floor hard. He fainted in agony, his mouth still hanging open from the pain of impact. Yuki caught her breath and looked down at her father, crumpled on the floor like a caterpillar.
思い直したね。やっぱりあなたを殺すって。姉さん。ごめんね、水葉。でも、あなたも悪いのよ。こんな父親を野放しにしておいたの。
Guilt tore at Yuki's heart as she spoke. She knew Misaha had no hand in these events, but Yuki was powerless to halt what had already been put in motion. Urged forward by her overwhelming hate, Yuki tied the director's arms behind him with a nearby rope.
よく考えたら、私たちって姉妹じゃないじゃない。法律上の話ね。だから、殺人犯の姉を持つってことにはならないじゃないの。私ったら何勘違いしてるのかしら。
何言ってるの？私たちは姉妹だよ。
そういうのはもういいわ。私たちは他人。助けてくれたのは感謝してる。
Yuki picked up the long narrow nail that she had mentioned earlier and crouched at the director's side.
さあ、教えてちょうだい。
Yuki's expression must have been drenched in cruelty, as the director's face quickly filled with unmistakable fear.
あなた、片倉に命じて家に火を放ったのね。
Yuki's rage dragged her mind back to the night her house burst into flames. The floor and walls licked at the young Yuki with a blazing red heat. Her mother fought against the time and an inconquerable illness to stand up, lift the half-sleeping Yuki and jump out the window. Yuki cried in her mother's scorched arms.
言いなさい。殺すわよ。
She thrust the nail at the director's neck. He promptly confessed through frantic breaths.
そうだ。私の指図だ。当時金に困っていた片倉君に話を持ちかけたんだ。しかし放火までしろとは言っていない。本当だ。
The devil in Yuki's heart gorged on her wrath.
じゃあなんで火がついたんだ。
やめろ。本当だ。
He said, his tears and saliva splattering across the room.
片倉君が勝手にやった。信じてくれ。
姉さん。
うるさい。
Words could no longer reach Yuki, nor could her consideration of Misaha or her guilt towards Haru. Even her gratitude to and the love of her foster father blew away in a storm of rage within her. That fierce wind took everything from Yuki, until all that remained was an empty shell, one waiting for the awakened demon within her to fill the vacancy of her fast-fleeing soul left behind. Yuki punched the director in the face. After shaking his tears and saliva off her hand, she picked up her phone. There's another person that I have to kill. The call was quickly answered.
どうしたんだユキ。理事長を引き渡したら水葉を解放してくれる約束じゃなかったのか。
What a smartass. After giving the director that dangerous weapon, she had the nerve to act so innocent. Yuki laughed. Haru was a hypocrite after all.
ちょっとトラブルがあってね。でももう水葉には用はない。安心して。
Despite her voice, which still dripped with the flames of adrenaline, Yuki's mind was as cool as ice.
片倉が来てるらしいじゃないの。中に入れてもらえるかしら。あ、そう。嫌なんだ。じゃあこの人間のクズを殺すわ。
Yuki feared that she might actually kill him on the spot, unconcerned about the consequences.
落ち着けユキ。分かった。片倉さんも納得してくれている。
もう小細工はなしよ、ハル。あまり怒らせないでちょうだい。
ああ。
Yuki stood at the warehouse entrance once more.
開けるわ。
Perhaps Yuki's anger had robbed her of her cool. She realized she was about to open the door without bringing along a hostage as a shield. What if they rush in as soon as I open the door? However, it was a needless worry. The sea breeze flew in. A short man stood not an arm's length away from her. He wore a suit and thin glasses. Yuki immediately pulled the man to her chest, using her right arm. Her left hand wielded the nail. The moment she pushed the nail against Katakura's neck, a voice rang out against her. I shouted the second Tokita reached out for the man at the door. Now, Usami! This was her best chance, seeing as Tokita had defenselessly opened the door.
Hi.
I held the warehouse door open to keep her from shutting it. Tokita's eyes opened wide. She wrapped her arm around the new hostage's neck from behind, holding him as a human shield. Her left hand held a glittering long nail. She began a slow retreat. I waved my hand, signaling the Sonoyama recruits to advance. They rushed into the warehouse after Usami and Tokita. As I ducked in after the last of our raiding team entered the warehouse, I noticed a few cars in the distance heading this way. Yakuza men ignored Yuki's warning as they charged into the warehouse one after another. They kept at a distance of about 5 yards from Yuki. They had her surrounded, forming a half-semicircle, or a semicircle, there's no half in there, around her as she backed against a wall. Each one of them teemed with rage and exuded enough overwhelming force for Yuki to smell it. She addressed the leader of the pack, her old friend.
ああ、これが最後の手段だった。
呆れるわね。よく考えてごらんなさい。状況は何も変わっていないのよ。
Yuki forced out a composed smile.
私は人質を取っている。今にも殺すことができる。
To be honest, even with the impending threat, this situation was more favorable than when Misaha was her only hostage. The man squirming in her arms, the one called Katakura, was despicable enough to warrant at least 2 bloody deaths.
Yuki, 落ち着け。
落ち着いてるわよ。
Indeed, she could take this man's life without so much as a quivering fingertip right now.
頼む。もうこんなバカなことはやめてくれ。私はユキが大好きなんだ。
大好きなら魔王のことを教えてくれてもよかったじゃない？
すまない。下手に話したら迷惑がかかると思ったんだ。
気遣いありがとう。見た目ですれ違ったわね。
Yuki's arm tightened around Katakura's neck. She used excessive force for such a small hostage. Madness fueled her strength to heroic, demonic proportions. She glanced at the director on the floor.
いい油を注いだわね。
何？
言っとくわね。復讐なんてやめようかとも思ったの。
Misaha stood stone still, dumbfounded. She was obviously failing to comprehend the current situation.
外道の父親を持っているだけでも肩身が狭いの。その上、人殺しの穴まで加わったらいくらなんでもかわいそうでしょ。
In stark contrast to her words, Yuki's conscience was silent. All blame laid with Haru.
あなたが理事長をけしかけなかったらハッピーエンドだったのにね。大した勇者様だこと。
Haru's face grew grave. She looked at the director with narrowed eyes full of anger. It's too late for regrets, Haru.
分かった。私が代わりに人質になろう。
冗談はやめてよ。確かにあなたには失望したけれど、それでもあなたを殺す理由はないわ。
そうか。
人質に人質たる理由がいるの。
Yuki stated the obvious. There was no reason to put up with Haru's begging any longer.
さあ、道を開けてちょうだい。車は用意してあるんでしょ？
ユキ。
それとも何？片倉を見殺しにしてでも私を捕まえる？言っておくけど、少しでも変な動きを見せたらその場で殺すわよ。
Nevertheless, Haru refused to stand down.
何度でも言おう。その人を離すんだ。 お前を人殺しにはさせない。
いい加減にしてよね。
Yuki sighed, then suddenly felt something amiss about this situation. Haru's behavior was odd. She was standing tall, staring straight at her opponent. It wasn't a very typical attitude when faced with defeat. Why? Why? Was she bluffing? Yuki felt that she could read Haru flawlessly after the time they spent together. Yet much to her confusion and discomfort, Haru showed no signs of lying. How on earth did she plan on turning this situation around? Yuki attempted to calm and cool her mind as it raged in a storm of madness. Wait a second. She focused on the men surrounding her. Each one of them bore a malevolent air. They looked as though they might pounce at any second. Wait, what are they waiting for? Yeah, that's what I figured. Yuki, now in a panic, reflexively turned to look at the back of Katakura's head.
その人は片倉さんじゃない。
Yep, Haru declared.
その山組の方だ。浅井さんにお願いして協力してもらった。
Yuki had no time to be dumbfounded. Nevertheless, her usual talkative mouth refused to move. That's why the Yakuza had hesitated. If Katakura's life were on the line, there was no reason for these men to restrain themselves. They kept back because the hostage was one of their own.
俺にも家族がいる。勘弁してもらえねえかな、嬢ちゃん。
Yuki's hostage, the man she thought was Katakura, spoke to her in a thick dialect of the underworld. All Yuki could do was mindlessly stare at Haru.
人質には人質たる理由がいる。そうだろ、ユキ。
By the way, Tokita, I took a step forward. Usami didn't order the director to attack you. The director keeps a taser on him at all times. Shiratori told me about it when we had dinner together the day before yesterday. The guy's pretty shady all around, if you ask me. I had interpreted Tokita's sarcasm earlier to mean that the director launched a surprise attack against her. That was an unbelievably stupid move.
さあユキ、その人は話すんだ。頭のいいお前ならわかるだろ。その人を殺しても何の意味もないんだ。
It was quite a dirty trick for Usami. Its outcome depended on Tokita's mental state. If we were less than careful, or even just unlucky, our stand-in might have been killed. He might be unrelated to Tokita's revenge, but he's still a hostage. As Usami said, there's no guarantee that Tokita will surrender now.
もし私が無関係な人を殺すことも厭わなかったらどうするの？
Tokita knew as well as I did that Usami believed in her.
ユキにそんな真似はできない。
Usami declared that belief with conviction, and Tokita flinched and looked away in response.
このままこの人を人質に逃げ出したらどうするの？
This time I responded. How exactly do you intend to do that? Are you planning on driving out of here? There's no way a piddly little nail could keep one of our men docile, let alone while the person holding it is watching the road.
そう。どう考えても言える。
I could tell Tokita's grip on the man had loosened a bit.
私の負け。疑ってごめんね。
Tokita let go of the hostage and stood still for a moment, dazed. The nail she had threatened to use as a weapon fell to the ground. Shiratori squeaked at Tokita's surrender. Judging by the fact that she wasn't bound in the least, Shiratori must have actually been cooperating with Tokita. The director seemed to be alive, at least.
ユキ、貴様、ただで済むと思うなよ。
He seemed lively enough.
浅井さん、お願いです。
The rest was up to me, I guess. Usami wanted me to save Tokita.
ユキが魔王の関係者だということをここにいる人たちに知られたら。
Yeah. She would be left with Horibe at the mercy of his horrible tortures.
すみません。
Fucking hell. Why me? Well, I'll live this down eventually. Eventually. Everyone, listen up. I faced the group of villainous men. Thank you all very much for helping us out here, all through the night. I, Azai Kyosuke, will never forget this favor. I'll be personally rewarding each of you later. For now, though, I think we should call it a day. I'll report this to my father immediately. Feel free to go home in the meantime. I can't afford to let any of them talk to Gonzo directly. Some of them might have overheard our conversation and learned something about Tokita and Maou. The men, swearing here and there, slowly turned to leave. They seemed content enough after I mentioned a reward. Suddenly, the people nearest the entrance stopped in their tracks. Boisterous greetings echoed through the warehouse. A giant strode through the ranks of beasts before pouncing in front of me. Oh, man. Oh, God. I had seen cars coming when we rushed in. That was Gonzo. He's fucked. Father, I'm very sorry. A dull thud echoed through my skull. He pointed at Tokita with his chin. The director suddenly raised his head. The director tried to kiss a little ass. Gonzo finally spoke without a hint of expression. There were 20 men here at least. That's over 100 million yen total. The director paled. Father, the situation has been resolved. I've no excuses for overworking your men. Pardon, sir? Did he smell her, I wonder? In any case, Gonzo was quick to suspect the connection between the situation here and Maou.
Yeah.
He lifted me up by the shirt. It's only natural for Gonzo to be angry. Companions? Usami, Shiratori, and Tokita? Are they really my companions? Would that make them my friends? What am I doing? I should be obeying Gonzo. Suddenly, despite my suffocated, hazy consciousness, a vision flashed before my eyes. I saw Tsubaki protecting her brother. I watched Kanon leave without saying so much as a word. And as my sight returned, I saw Tokita, who refused to lay a hand on Shiratori. I watched her distant lips swing wide open. She faced Gonzo and me with an utterly blank expression. Gonzo let go of me and walked towards Tokita. Gonzo responded to Tokita's question by throwing her a death glare. pure malice seemed to swell in Gonzo's eyes. It's all over. Gonzo isn't going to let Tokita off lightly. We didn't know each other for long, but Tokita wasn't half bad if you ask me. I sorta got along with her. To be honest, I wish she could have stuck around a little longer. I mean, considering the lengths she went in order to exact her revenge, Tokita must have held at least a small grudge against Shiratori. Why did she refuse to hurt her? If she had used Shiratori as a legitimate hostage, the situation would have gone overwhelmingly in Tokita's favor. So, why? Why is this sensation so alien to me, when everyone around me seems to have something warm in them?
Sarai.
Gonzo commanded his pack to pray. Just as I was about to flinch away from the spectacle, as I did every time I bore witness to Gonzo's cruelty, I heard pitiful sobs echo through the warehouse. Of all the begging I've heard before Gonzo, this was the most meaningless, powerless plea. What a foolish girl, Yuki thought. Yuki's heart, already unable to fulfill its revenge, allowed the new world to slip away entirely as it fell into despair at this new development. Misaha was an idiot. It was no use. Yuki's experience told her this after a mere glance at Azai Gonzo. No matter how much she screams or cries, this giant's heart would remain steadfast. She must not fully comprehend the situation. Misaha doesn't even know about the connections between Yuki and the Maou. She's merely throwing a tantrum. And good lord, why does she feel the need to make all this racket? After finally being pierced by Gonzo's gaze, Misaha's lips stiffened in fear. How foolish. Who would believe such a story? And regardless, Azai Gonzo was uninterested in a hostage situation. Her claim was utterly unimportant.
Maou.
Trembling in fear before Gonzo's deep voice, excuse me, Misaha awkwardly spun her words together. Tears fell onto her scarf. The situation was almost aggravating. All she had to do was keep quiet. At this rate, Misaha would be put to their Yakuza torture as well. Why is she always so much trouble? Yuki stared at Misaha's scarf as she spoke to Gonzo. Gonzo glanced at Yuki. His eyes were chilling enough to freeze Yuki's reason as she tried to read him. Had Misaha really just lied straight into these eyes? Misaha cried out again. Why? Misaha's behavior bewildered Yuki. She wished Misaha could understand her feelings. The last thing Yuki wanted was to drag her poor sister down with her. Yet more tears flow across Misaha's pale cheeks, eventually coming to rest on her scarf.
Oi.
Azai Gonzo finally opened his mouth. The anger in his lips implied that he would not waste time with this farce. He asked as he pointed at Misaha. All Yuki could do was smile, though her lips twitched in terror. The pack of beasts understood their leader well enough, and drew near to Misaha. She had to deny it. But what good would denying it do? It was too late now. Mizuha's eyes flooded with tears. Her scream tore through the claustrophobic air of the warehouse, slicing apart the tension in the room. Mizuha's vocabulary suffered for her desperation. Her plea wasn't convincing in the least. However, despite being too weak to save Yuki, those words did manage to shake her heart. The scarf she'd given Mizuha so long ago was now drowning in her endless tears. Her voice was faint, damp.
よく見てよ。
水葉はいつでも姉さんの味方だよって。
そっくりじゃない？
Yuki pointed at her sister, who looked almost nothing like her. Then she realized what she had just done. What was she saying? What a stupid pair of sisters. She had to deny it. Now think. How can you persuade that stupid sister of yours? Think! Don't involve your sister in this. Hell doesn't need both of us. Speak, damn it! Where are those words that you're supposedly so good with? Make use of what you sold your soul to the devil to learn. Her voice wouldn't come out. No matter how much she tried, it wouldn't come out. What I did then must have come as a huge surprise to Azai Gonzo. It even surprised me. Nobody move! I grabbed Gonzo's huge shoulders from behind. My other hand held Tokida's nail. Yeah, I guess I have. Usami, take Tokida and Shiratori and run! What am I doing? Well, everyone get on their fucking way! Do you guys want Gonzo to die? Why am I doing this? His lips curved into a smirk. It bore all the confidence of a wild animal before devouring its prey. My body had merely moved before my mind could comprehend fear. Just get out of here! Usami seemed to grasp the situation. Dilly-dallying around here would be truly idiotic. She quickly pulled Tokida by the arm. I don't know. I couldn't answer. My classmates' faces just came to mind. Tsubaki, Kanon, Shiratori, Tokida. The tears rolling down their cheeks had spurred me on somehow. Usami quickly helped Shiratori up from the ground and hurried for the door. Tokida and Shiratori followed Usami in a daze, as if they had lost all will of their own. I said get out of their way! I'll kill him! Usami and the rest made their way to the exit. Like a boulder tearing apart rapids, the crowd of people split as they pushed through. Gonzo didn't move an inch. Shortly thereafter, I heard the roaring sound of a car engine outside. They must have taken the car I prepared for Tokida. The tires grazed along, and they left.
Oi.
I was then literally attacked by bottomless despair. That's what I thought too. My hand shook uncontrollably. It was too late to make excuses. I didn't even understand what I did. Explaining my actions would be out of the question.
どうするのだ、京介。
What will I do? He's asking about the future. What future does someone who bore their fangs at Gonzo have?
お前は金を貯めて母を迎えるつもりだった。
I timidly nodded.
そんなお前にとって残念な知らせが先ほど届いた。
What?
死んだぞ。
I dropped the nail, and it bounced off the ground with a clang.
母親だ。
My vision was instantly dyed black.
はねられたらしい。
My knees threatened to collapse beneath me.
飲酒運転の。
Though entirely dumb, I somehow felt my body melt into the solid floor. There were no traces of a lie in Gonzo's eyes. No. I burst into an eardrum-shattering scream. I looked to the ceiling for a moment before my eyes rolled back, my lungs all the while fighting to force out this blood-curdling despair. Oh. How's that, guys? Well, hope you guys did enjoy. That is going to do it for this episode. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all next time.